Good evening, everybody. I'm Dave Martinson. I'm a health and well-being coach. It's my privilege to host our Creating Optimal Health series. We decided to do this series to offer another layer of connection to our community, and so we can journey with like-minded people towards optimal health. We're going to be going through Dr. A's Habit of Health book and his companion guide, Living a Longer, Healthier Life. We are currently discussing Chapter 2. It's called The Path, Creation of Optimal Health. The series is going to be held on the first and third Wednesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. It's being recorded and will be posted on our Creating Optimal Health Facebook group. You can join us live each first and third Wednesday of the month. So we'll get going now and really talk about what this chapter is about. I thought it was really good chapter. Last week, chapter 1 was really laying the foundation, the starting point, talking about how it's not our fault that we're gaining weight, or our society's being heavier and heavier and unhealthier because of the amounts of sugar we consume, the amounts of the large portion sizes when we go out to eat at restaurants and such. So it kind of talked about a starting point of what the kind of things looks like, and it sort of asked the question, what do we do? And really came to the point where it says, well, we have to create optimal health in our lives. So today is Chapter 2, The Path, the Creation of Optimal Health. I do have a couple of slides, so I'm going to share that with you, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So, come on, be in the slide view. There we go. So, okay, so we talked about this already. So here's I like this picture because this is one of the main topics of this chapter, and probably throughout the whole book, is this health plan. And you have people who are sick, you have people who are unhealthy, you have people who are not sick or non-sick, and then you have optimal health. And the effect of those daily choices over time leads you on one of the paths that is demonstrated here. So our goal is for you to be much more than non-sick. Our goal is to be healthy. So this is still part 1 of the book, but in Chapter 2, part 1, this whole thing is about preparing for your journey. The six steps are listed here on this little graph: preparing for your journey, reaching a healthy weight, transitioning to eating healthy, learning the habits of health, optimizing for your health for your age, and living a longer and healthier life. So let's get started. And Chapter 2, like I said, is the path, creation to optimal health. So this is kind of how this chapter starts. Ask the question, is non-sick your way of life? And that's kind of what I want to start the discussion with, is that. So if anybody would like to jump in on this part of the conversation, and the question is non-sick your way of life? So for me, right now it is not. But before I was introduced to this community, it was. Eating out, not sleeping enough hours, not drinking enough water, not being in a community of like-minded people. Those are the things that we need to be doing. That's not what I was doing. So anybody have anything to share of some things that they were, like, how they were living a life of just not sick?
Well, I think the one thing that jumped out for me was the muscles being weak and flabby. And when Dr. A said it's kind of like being in purgatory, just simply surviving as opposed to a healthy state of thriving. And I think that for a long time I was like just in that zone of just getting by. So that was a non-sick part.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you. Anybody else have a little to share on that? Some of their thoughts on that part? Okay, so that the question, right, is non-sick your way of life. So if you're not sick, then are you healthy? Is that a true statement?
Not necessarily.
So yeah, you're right. It's not. It isn't. And I just think it's interesting. You know, I don't think I've ever heard anybody, read anything or anything that really talks like, what happened to my presentation? Gone.
Right.
Well, that's not good. Okay. I will find it. All right. So basically, what it's asking is, I'm sorry about this. Okay. So I found it. I'm going to show it to you again. I'll just leave it up for a few minutes while we kind of discuss it. Right here. So is the non-sick your way of life? If you're not sick, you're healthy, right? And no, you're not, because what sick is, right? So I like this, and Bonnie, you already talked about this. Sick is, okay, and we'll talk. There's a definition I'll share with you. But non-sick is simply surviving, and being healthy is thriving. And so, for me, I was for 20 years just non-sick, just simply surviving, and now I'm thriving, and I'm moving and on this journey towards optimal health. Here's this definition that I thought was great, right out of Dr. A's book. Non-sick defined: a state in which your muscles become weak and flabby, a state of not enough sleep, when way too much stress. It's a state that leads you to progressive dependence on medications to relieve your symptoms that are merely your body's way of telling you you're not healthy. In the state of non-sickness, time is against you. Your health plan has led you from non-sick to sick. And the bad news is 90% of us fall into this non-sick category. But the good news is the non-sick can reach optimal health in a relatively short amount of time. So, with that in mind, what do you guys think about that definition?
I can relate.
So as we look at you guys fully, what's interesting to me and what's helped me on my journey is fully understanding the difference in these things. Being sick is obvious. You gotta go and have medical procedures. You're seeing a doctor all the time. These kind of things. That's you're sick. But when you don't know you're sick, I mean, when you're not sick, you don't know if you're getting sick or you're getting healthy. You're just kind of moving along, and then healthy. I never really thought about when somebody say, "So, how are you?" And you're like, "Well, I'm fine. I'm not sick." But what I'm learning in this is that not sick is the path to sickness. It's the habits of disease. And as we can go through this chapter, we're going to talk about some of the habits of health and how that leads towards optimal health versus the habits of disease, which is what I think how I lived as a person who was not sick, maybe doing habits of disease. So it's the next part is really, so what is, if we define not sick, so what is optimal health? Can anybody share what they think optimal health is, and then we'll share Dr. A's definition. Anybody brave? All right. So let's see. So I'm going to share. So basically, optimal health. So what do we mean by this? So optimal health is the highest degree of health that's possible for you to achieve. Now, what's interesting for that to me is that so optimal health is different for each of us because it's what you can achieve. So my optimal health is going to be different than anybody else on this call. My optimal health is different than Sherry's optimal health. It's what we can achieve. Somebody who has had any physical disabilities or such like that, their optimal health is going to be different than mine. Mine's going to be different than theirs. Mine's going to be different than a younger person. It's going to be different than an older person's. So the limit of optimal health that's not defined by this group definition of, okay, guys, we all hit it. Yay, we're all optimally healthy because we hit some certain marks. No, it's optimal healthy. It's a journey, and it's optimally healthy for you is what you've achieved at that time and what you have the ability to continue to achieve. And it's been amazing. Some of the people I've met through this journey that are have been through this, that are on this journey towards optimal health. It's just amazing that there can, as you can, I look at them and go, wow, they're like so healthy. But for them, they haven't even achieved that optimal health yet. And they're still on that journey trying to achieve that. And so I find that to be very fascinating on this particular journey that I'm on. So does anybody have anything to share on what they think about optimal health and how that relates? Okay, so Dr. Eagle's going to say you have to choose your health plan, right? And so you have to ask yourself 3 questions. So I'm going to bring these 3 questions up so you guys can see them. And so here's the 3 questions. Is my health improving every day? Are my daily habits creating greater health and vibrancy, or are they draining my battery and putting me on an accelerated path towards disease? And lastly, am I already in a non-sick or sick state? Now, I think this is important for us to talk about, because this sets the stage. These 3 questions set the stage for moving into optimal health. So this chapter is called The Creation of Optimal Health. This book is all about the habits of health, to permanent weight loss and control and optimal health. So that's what his book is entitled. And so as we look at it and try to answer these questions, I encourage each of you to take these questions and seriously look at them and consider the questions in here. So is my health improving every day? So are you doing things every day to make sure you're improving your health? Are you choosing habits of health, habits of disease? What are the choices you're making? Every single choice you make is going to determine the path that you're taking towards optimal health or sickness and disease. Optimal health or habits of disease. Those are what's going to go. That's the direction you'll go depending on the choices you make. So as you are learning, which is a fundamental and key part of what we are doing here, is trying to make sure that you are learning and being able to take these things and make them impact you in your life. So that question itself is so important. The second part, are my daily habits creating greater health and vibrancy, or are they draining my battery and putting me on an accelerated path towards disease? So like I was saying in the past, I had to take a nap every day at like 3 o'clock. I'm like, geez, I got to take a nap. I take a 15-minute break. I'm at work and I just put my head on the desk or just lay here and try to get enough energy, or, oh, I better go get some sugar or some caffeine. And those were the types of habits that I had and the choices I was making. And so knowing those things, and those are my daily habits, and are they draining me or giving me vibrancy? And those are draining me. So what can I do to change that? And so finding a way to make small changes. So now if I get tired from staring at a screen all day and I'm getting a little, feeling a little not up to par, I go for a walk, get out and get fresh air, get a little habit of motion going, maybe make a phone call and talk to somebody. And so develop that relationship. That gives me more energy. That lets me make it through the day, those kind of things. And those are things that I try to do in that example to move towards greater health and vibrancy. So, and lastly, am I already in a non-sick or sick state? And I was definitely in a non-sick state. And it could have been, and I'm definitely moving towards sick. I had a fatty liver. I had some of my blood work done, and it was out of whack. And so those are the things that say, yeah, you're going towards sick. So how do you make those, then you start learning about these habits. And these habits are key to success on this journey. And as we talk about the habits throughout a little bit in this chapter and throughout this book, these are things that we will have to really make part of our daily lives in order to continue on the journey towards optimal health. And they're very easy, very straightforward. Because it's just that you have to have that commitment to wanting to move that direction. So let's see my next slide, because that'll be fun. And it is, so, it's a typo, dang it. So our goal for you, okay, not out, but our goal for you is to be much more than non-sick. It's to be healthy. It's your daily habits of disease or your habits of health that determine that direction. And that is what I'm talking about when I'm sharing about this with you, is those daily habits, the small things you make, the choices you make every moment when you're, like, I'm at the office and it's 12 days of Christmas cookies. So at 3 o'clock every day, an email comes out, everybody come to this room, we're having cookies. So I want to go and have some festive activities and have some, to talk with my colleagues and friends. So I go, I bring myself a bottle of water and I'm like, well, I'm not hungry, so I'm gonna go and visit, and just have my bottle of water, and I don't run around going sampling every cookie they have, because for me, that's a habit of disease. That's a habit I don't want to have. And my habit that I've replaced that is, if I'm going to go, I'm going to bring a bottle of water and just continue drinking the water. Every time it looks like I feel like I want to have a bite of something, I drink a bottle of water. So those are choices I make in the small decisions during the day that help me to be able to still enjoy the camaraderie of my colleagues and also choose a habit of health. And in my case, demonstrate a habit of health too. A great example. So on everybody's birthday, they always bring a big old cake in and make a big deal about it. Well, on my birthday, they brought fruit in. They didn't bring any cake at all. They just brought fruit. They didn't ask me. They didn't say, hey, do you want a cake or not want a cake? They just knew, and they just brought in fruit. And everybody came and they're like, hey, fruit. And they ate that up faster than they ate up any of the cakes that ever get brought. And it's really great to see. And it's just, by my choices, impacts the folks around us, and they start understanding, hey, he's just making healthy choices. We're not going to go and, buy him a cake. We're going to get him some fruit because we know he eats that. And so those kind of healthy habits that, for me, have impacted them, so they know that, hey, for Dave, we're going to get him some fruit. I thought it was a really poignant moment and a good education for me that, hey, if I live my life in a certain way where I'm living this lifestyle of health and I'm creating this health by the choices I make, how can I continue to impact people around me, demonstrate my my way of life and what I call living arms wide open. So everybody's no secret. This is how I am. I try to be healthy, try to make good decisions on my health, and people respond, which I think is very important. So now I'm gonna bring up the screen that actually shows the habits of health. Now, these are, there they go. There they are. All right. So these are the habits of health that we talk about. And these are like the overall big names for these. Okay. And we can go deep into each one of these at some point. But what I want to do right now, I'm going to just kind of go through these real quick. But then I want to have actually have a little bit of discussion of how some of these things are working for you guys. So, and now these all have little different names depending. I mean, Dr. A's book doesn't list them in these names, but sometimes it's confusing. What does it mean? So I got a little description of them that we can talk about if we need to get clarity on a couple of them. But basically, the habits of healthy eating is one of these are the habits. And then the habit of moving your body. Like I told you, I go for a walk. That helps me during the day. The habit of a healthy mind, the habit of good sleep, the habit of support, the habit of drinking enough water, the habit of quiet time, and then the yo-yo cycle, the habit of, that one always confuses me, but we can have a little chat about these. And let's talk about the habit of which one was it? Habit of healthy eating, and what that. So for what I've learned about the habit of healthy eating, whether you're so the overall habit of life is to eat regularly, eat 6 times a day, choose the right portion sizes, choose the right combinations of food. These kind of things, and so I think it's obviously a hugely important thing because it's a good habit, and it also is kind of the basic of trying to continue to stay healthy by having a consistent way of eating that is good for your body, good for your digestive system, helps you move through the day. So I was going to say, basically, and I have a little thing here, basically talking about, eating small meals throughout the day, and then, and a balanced meal. So balanced proteins, balanced carbs. We're on a lifestyle, and we talked about it last week, of fast foods. Everybody's in a hurry all the time. How do you get your food in? Just go through the drive-through. And just get it quick and easy. So learning how for you. So for me, I now I make sure that I have my snacks, right? So I get 6 times a day. So my mid-morning, my mid-afternoon, and my evening are relatively simple. Whether it's some sort of bar, or fueling, or a shake. Or a simple another bar, something like that. That just, for me, those are small fuelers that help me throughout those times of the day. And my breakfast, my lunch, my dinner are really balanced with the leans and greens and fruits and the things that and the right more portion sizes. So for me, it's like I'm hungry all the time, but not really. I eat, and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's time to eat again. And I have learned when I'm hungry. My body actually, I know what it is when my body's saying, hey, you're hungry now. And so this habit of eating at certain times, I had done originally while I was on the program, on my Fitbit, I'd set it to go off at certain times of the day. It would just vibrate, and I'd know it's time to eat. And after a while, my Fitbit died, but my stomach vibrated instead because it just knew. It's like, oh, it's 7 o'clock, it's 11 o'clock, it's 1:30, it's 5:30, it's 9:30, and that's when I ate. Those are the times. So, so that's for the healthy eating. Does anybody have any things that work for them, for you when you're trying to say, okay, how do I stay on track with how often I'm going to eat, and what am I eating, how am I staying with the right portion sizes and right choices? Anybody have anything they can share? Does anybody have any particular favorite habit of health? Bonnie, you're on mute.
Right, because my son came in. For me, with the fuelings, I put the 5 in a baggie, and that way I know what I've got, and I don't have to get hungrier while I'm looking for food. So that's been a help.
Yes, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. A lot of people do that, especially when you're on the go. If you're always on the go, just a bag, throw 5 fuelings in there or whatever, and you have them. When you go on a trip, bunch of the fuelings in a Ziploc bag, and you just have them with you. That's a very good habit. Because then, you know, if you're going out, one of the things I'll do is going out on the, you know, out for the evening or whatever. If I go to the movies, or if I'm going somewhere, I'll throw a couple of bars in my bag and bring that, so that just in case I start getting a craving or I'm tempted or whatever, and I need to catch myself, do a stop, challenge, choose, and say, what am I going to do? I'll just be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to grab one of my fuelings and have that. So I don't jump in and have something that I just don't want to have, but I'm hungry because maybe I've done a little more exercise during the day than I had planned, because I did more walking or whatever, and my body's craving actual fuel. Then I'll grab one and I'll have an additional one. So that helps me. I think for healthy water, the habit of drinking enough water, I think, is hugely important. And I was really having a hard time getting enough water in. It's very difficult to get in 6 bottles of water a day. And so one of the things that I did was I figured that from when I wake up so I wake up, go eat breakfast. And so with that, I start a bottle of water right away. I give myself until 10 o'clock. So I eat about 7. So I give myself about 10 o'clock or 10:30 to finish that bottle of water, because I eat at 10:30 my second meal, my fueling, and then I start another bottle. So I have to finish it. Even if I'm not done, I have to guzzle that thing, and then I can eat, and I start another bottle. And I got to drink that by 1:30, because then I'm going to have another fueling, and I got to drink another bottle of water. So I do that throughout the day. So by the time I got to my 6th fueling of the day, and I'm on my 6th bottle of water. And that's just a normal day of me at work. If I'm out and about, I probably might drink more because I'm walking around more rather than just sitting at a desk. But that's how I make sure that I get 6 bottles of water in. And for me, it's a really good habit to do it that way, because I just have to finish that last bottle before I can eat my lunch. And so even if I've been too busy and didn't finish it, I just have to guzzle it down. It keeps your belly full. Sometimes when I read I don't know what chapter it was, but basically it says water. Because sometimes you think you're hungry, but you're not. You're thirsty. We don't drink enough water. We just don't. And so drinking the water is so very important. And this is how I can keep on track of getting enough water. Okay. How about sleep? Anybody have any comments of sleep? Like getting more sleep, does it feel right? Does it make you feel better if you're getting between that? But I think it's like 7 to 8 hours. Let's see, it says right here. It doesn't say on this one, but so restfulness and sleep. Anybody love to sleep?
I don't get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, but I've been getting better sleep.
Yeah. Why you didn't go to sleep, Jennifer? What do you think?
I guess I just wear myself out. I've eaten better. I'm not, I didn't consume a bunch of sugar. I guess is probably one of the reasons. So even though I could still only be getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep, it's better sleep.
Good. Yeah. That's a good start. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Doug, you raised your hand. You love sleep? No? Oh, yeah, you're still on mute. Hang on. Let me unmute you. All right.
Yeah, no, I don't get enough sleep, but I love sleep because that's what you asked. So I was waving my hand to let you know I love sleep. I'm a kid, so I stay up too late. I just can't help that. But, I can't help it. I choose to stay up late. But I do get an extra hour and a half during the day when I take my lunch break. I get about an hour of sleep. So that makes up for the 5 hours I get at night. But I need to work on my sleep, obviously. But I wanted to just say real quick that the point you made about the water, I never heard that before. So I'm going to apply that because I struggle with water intake. Because to me, it's just, I don't think of it. I've never drank water in my life, and it's always a challenge for me to drink water. It's not even a concept that it's an option. But so I did go buy water bottles for myself to bring to work, but I still don't drink enough water. But that rule that I can apply now to my day is gonna be very positive for me. So that's a good share for me.
Good.
Okay, you can unmute me now.
Okay. So let's say, what about movement? So movement's an important habit. I talked a little bit about how I walk during the day. I'll take a walk, and like the other day, I was super kind of having a groggy feeling day. I took 3 walks, which was I just basically each of my breaks and my lunch, I took a walk, and it just gave me enough energy. Plus, you know, out in the sun. Well, it was sunny that day, so those days, so it was nice. But out in the sun, getting a little vitamins that way, and then just taking a nice walk, and so that helps me in the movement. It just makes me feel good. As a former athlete, I'm like, oh, hey, going for a walk, that feels good. Maybe I should actually exercise more. So, but for me, it's taking the baby steps of, okay, I'm going to walk. I'm going to try to walk every day and get that habit going. And I know, Jennifer, you are a hiker. So tell me how that has played into helping you in your journey.
Well, I started hiking because I became unemployed, so it helped me as far as my mind. It helped me clear my head and my stress and stuff like that. But also, one of the side effects, the benefits of it is, you know, getting in shape. I was lazy before. I wouldn't walk from one block to another. I would drive my car across the street. I was that lazy, and I just found that for me, I go to the gym every day at lunch, and I do just a 25-minute workout, and it gives me energy again. Where before, I would be doing head dives at my desk. So it really does make a difference. It helps with stress. It gives you more energy. So, and it breaks up your day.
And it's nice that you work, and there's where you worked as a gym on the first floor or something like that, right?
Yeah. So that helps.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anybody else have any anything they're doing in terms of movement and activity to kind of brighten the day and get a little bit of that habit going?
I started walking at lunchtime with one of my coworkers. So we'll go for a walk before I have my lunch fueling. So, and it gets her exercising, which she loves to do. And so we're usually out for at least 30 to 45 minutes walking around the campus. So it works out good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. One of the things that Dr. A talks about, it's farther out in the chapters, farther on down, but in terms of the habit of motion, it doesn't have to be drastic. It doesn't even have to be going for a walk. It's doing, for example, just to stand up for 30 seconds every half hour or hour if you sit at a desk, because it just changes and you get just enough a little metabolism burn there to help you burn more calories. Sometimes I'll take if you have a laptop, I'll take it and I'll set it on a tall, like a file cabinet, and stand there and work for 20 minutes or so and just stand up and do it. And that is very helpful for me to kind of also awaken me, I can feel my body burning a little more calories and just being more efficient with what's going on. And so, and then at work, we have an elevator, but also we have stairs. So when I can, I'll just take the stairs. I'm always volunteering to go across to the other building. I got to walk across the parking lot, not very far, but I'll be a volunteer. Hey, I'm going to take mail. Anybody want to take their mail? And I'll do that. It just gives me another opportunity to take a very short walk, but it's a walk. It gets me away from staring at a screen, gets me to stand up and get some motion. So those are stuff like that. I always park, like my kids hate it. I park in the farthest parking spot at the mall or at the store, and they're like, why are we way out here? I said, because I need to walk. And so it's really helpful for me to get extra exercise just by making it something like that and just taking an opportunity to walk far away. So those kind of things. Doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, I got to go to the gym every day and I got to do all this. That makes me something you build to if you desire to do that. But the main thing is motion in your body and keep it moving and taking that time to, because we sit in a chair on the way to work. We get to work, we sit in another chair. We get in a chair and drive to lunch and sit in a chair at lunch. Then we go back to work and sit in a chair. Then we get in our car and sit in a chair and drive all the way home to go sit in a couch to watch TV or to get on the Zoom and we're all sitting here. Maybe we should do these Zooms standing up. So that's my day. I don't know about the rest of you. Obviously, Jennifer, you go to the gym and you hike. Then I'm taking a walk at lunch. and Jenny's taking a walk at lunch. Doug takes a nap at lunch. So we're getting some healthy habits, which is really good. But we need to kind of up our our motion a little bit, I think, and really kind of make that a habit that we look at, because it's a lifetime habit. I mean, if we really I can look at some of my grandfather lived to be 94, I think. And he was bowling up until he couldn't pick up a ball anymore. And he was like 90 years old when he was finally like, yeah, I can't bowl anymore. So that's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to continue being active into my 90s. People in my family live for a long time. So I got to make sure I got something to do. So I got to keep in motion. I think it's very important because it kept him going for a really long time. He was golfing up until he decided that he'd start bowling instead and didn't have to walk as much. But, if you're going to be bowling and golfing into your late 80s or 90s, it's pretty darn good. So that's the kind of stuff we want to be able to do as we get older and get into this optimal, get to a place where we have optimal health. So any other comments on any other habits? We have so we have habit of support. That's an important one we should just chat about. So this right here is one of those right now. This is a habit of support, but it's also a habit of mindfulness, because we're taking some information that Dr. A is taking and putting in this book for us. Great information, and being able to discuss it, and therefore it's on the top of our mind. And so when we get off the call, we'll be like, hey, I think we get some motion in, go for a little walk. Tomorrow when we're at work, we're like, hey, I think I'm going to stand up. I'm going to volunteer to take the mail over, etc. So the things you can do to get a little extra motion in your life that doesn't require having to go to the gym if it's not convenient, or you just don't have a gym membership, or all these kind of things. So that's so our discussion with this is mindful, and if we're continuing to pay attention about and live intentionally with these habits, that's being mindful of it. And it's so important for us. And we can really talk about mindfulness forever, because it's a really, really important and very fundamental in I think just being a human. But then on the top of that is community. So the habit of support. So whether it's being on these calls, like Jenny, you've got a friend at work that is walking with you, very important. So it's finding ways to engage with the community, healthy people, people that are like-minded, people on this call, just people through some of the Facebook groups. How can you connect with them and get support? Also, the nutrition support call, the doctor support call, the nurses support call, the habits of health call. All these types of calls are designed to help support us as a community. So it's very important reaching up to our coaches and mentors to help really keep us focused, keep us intentional in reaching it's not even reaching our goal, because it is not a destination, it's a journey. So it's reaching and continuing on our journey of creating optimal health in our lives. So the other there's quiet time. The other two I just want to touch on. Quiet time is very important. Most people get a little bit of it, and if they don't, they really know that they're not, because then they start desiring everyone to be quiet around them and just taking that time. We have a really loud world, and for instance, our house, there's 6 people living here, and we have a dog who's a barker who likes to bark at the neighbor dogs, and they have their little barking conversations. So it's loud all the time. So finding quiet time for myself is very important. So we have I basically took a corner of my bedroom. I put a chair over there. I put a little book light. I have a little bit of music. I have my headphones. I have my journals, and I have my Bible and just whatever I'm going to read. And I'll shut my door and I'll turn all the lights off, and I'll just have my little reading lamp, and that's it. And people and the kids and Sherry, they know, okay, he's having quiet time. Leave him alone. So I can get even if it's 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, just enough to help me. It's very important for us to really take and really look at that habit and put it in our lives, because it is such a loud world we live in. And having a little quiet time to just listen to yourself, listen to your body, listen to whatever it is that you're whether you're listening to some music or listening to a speaker or something like that, to really just take that, because that's quiet time too. Even if you might be listening to something, it just gives you, it's intentional and it's meaningful to you, and it helps settle yourself. So it's an important thing. Does anybody have a quiet activity that they do, kind of like I was describing, that helps?
I do. For me, it's hiking. That's when I do my solo hikes, when I'm by myself, that's my time to rid of all the bad and take in all the good.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yes, absolutely. Anybody else, Doug, take any time like that? Just we'll read your lips, man.
Unmute me. Hey, just leave me unmuted. I'm home. I live pretty much alone, and so I have a lot of quiet time for myself. I probably don't utilize the time as other people would, but I'm good with that. I'm good where I am with I actually want more interaction and more people, touching base with more individuals. So, but I'm good with my quiet time, but I totally understand the necessity of going to that place and however you're going to use that time for yourself. But big fan of that.
Good. So the other one we have is a habit called looking for the Yoyo Cycle, and I'm always a little confused about it. But I thought maybe we'd bring it up, and maybe somebody can if anybody can shed some light on what they think it means. But I have the sheet that I have that kind of explains it. It talks about the Yo-Yo cycle of when you start kind of sliding back into bad habits. And I think what I have an understanding of, it's something to understand that because this is a journey, and it's not pretty. It's not like a straight line like this. It's like this. The journey is like all over the place. So, and I've seen a picture of it. Maybe I'll put that in the slide next time. That does that. It says it's not like straight line like this. It's all over the place. That's the journey. Well, and in that, we're gonna go and we're gonna do good, and we're gonna be making right choices and stuff. And then all of a sudden, we're gonna slip into some bad habits. So during Christmas, they're like, oh, hey, we're gonna have our traditional meal, and I'm gonna have 97 pieces of it and gain 10 pounds over the time. And then instead of then being, oh, look at I've lost everything, I'm a terrible person, look at this, that's terrible, and I just continue following those habits. I have to be able to recognize that sometimes there's a cycle, because these habits are continuously need to reinforce them. And you have a habit you've been doing for me, for 49 years, eating the same dinner at Christmas and eating a lot of it, to now having one piece and being full and knowing. But that's something that I have to continuously reinforce. And if I don't do it and I end up afterwards, it doesn't mean I'm some sort of failure and I need to never do a Zoom again because who's going to listen to me? It's not like that. It's going back and saying, oh, okay, well, this happened. And what do? I get back on track and stop, challenge, choose. And I make my choices and I choose optimal health and I continue back on the track. So it's not like this and it's not like this. It's like, woohoo. Okay, so that's how I understand it. Yo-yo cycle is probably a bunch of other ways to describe it. Does anybody have a way to describe that?
Hey, Dave, I have a friend of mine at work. He's a runner. He's in good shape, but he lives by the yo-yo cycle. So he basically, when he's in good shape and he's eating good, and then he'll just go ahead and say, I'm comfortable. So then he goes and eats his donuts and his pizzas and his sugars and his whatevers, and he has no care in the world and he lives like a king. And then when he feels his pants, basically his waist getting tighter around his pants, he goes back to his, and it's sharp discipline. He goes, okay, it's time for me to go back to, being healthy. And he gets back onto his health train and gets solid again. And then he goes right back to celebrating, and he lives that way. And that for me is his yo-yo cycle. He's down and up and down and up and down and up. He lives in that moment. But he doesn't, he's not trying to stay low. He wants to basically enjoy his goodies until he feels he needs, to change that. So that's just an example of one way that he lives in a yo-yo cycle.
Anybody else have anything to share on yo-yo cycle? Okay. So the keys to habits of health. Okay, this was one I thought this after I read them all and I thought we'd discuss them. Then Dr. A puts these 4 little bullet points out, which I'm going to share with you because living all these things is one thing, but and as I go over this with you, you can see what Dr. A is kind of pointing out here that the keys to these habits of health. Number one is it's essential that all the habits work together. So if we're having, we're doing good sleep, but we're not doing good mindfulness, then it's not moving you fully towards optimal health. That's the messy thing we're talking about. So so basically it's a baby step thing. So he says that they introduce the new habits to folks as baby steps, little by little, each step leading to the next and laying a firm foundation for optimal health. And I think that with those things in mind, they are the things that will help. So as you're journeying, when do you find, so it's always that sort of measuring yourself. At a certain part, it's about weight. Okay, and then it might be about size of clothes. More importantly, it's about how do I feel? And how's that affecting the rest of my life and the things around me? So if we went over all of these things, but if you're like, oh my God, I'm going to do them all tomorrow, I'm going to be perfect. And then you're not perfect, and that gets that sort of yo-yo, like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. No, like I'm doing great. And these things so that you can move towards optimal health, but they build on each other. So if you don't, like I'm saying, if you don't eat right, but you sleep plenty, well, that's not going to do any good. If you're exercising and eating terrible, or if you're very stressed out and exercising actually is making more stress or not helping with the stress, they all need to come together. And so it's a little by little. And so as we go through the book, it's going to talk about these more in depth. And as any of us who are on a journey are going to see that we can take baby steps with these things and say, okay, I'm just going to go to bed a little earlier. And I'm going to take a little more time to be quiet. And I'm going to make sure I weigh my food. And I'm going to take an extra 5 minutes just to be quiet. And, you just sort of and then you make them part of you. So it's a layer by layer thing. You can't just one day go, I'm doing all of them perfectly right now. And because it's not something, and some people could do that, sure. But it is a journey. Each step in the way, as he calls it, he talks about a path, he talks about a journey. It's a journey. Because optimal health is what we want, is something we're going to continue to strive for by making choices for ourselves. And and what he says this, he says, because he has this whole conversation here near the end of the chapter, which is like the modern way of life or death, right? And it's that chapter, and he talks about changing our focus. Everything is a what does he say? Instant gratification society. So that's what he talks about in here. And so what he's talking about here is saying you take them little by little, okay? And he talks about him. He says that and the question is, well, how do you see the difference? So when, like for me, I'm weighing in every Monday, and look at me, I lost this much, I lost that much, and my pants don't fit, and my shirts don't fit. I look like I'm wearing a tent. These kind of things. But at some point, it becomes not about that. I mean, some people, that's how they start. I got to lose weight. I want to get this. Everybody's losing weight. I'm going to go do this. But after that, you start learning about these habits and going, what's this mindfulness thing? How is that important to me? How is sleep important? And then it's what makes that difference? And when am I going to be there? So what he says is, what will make a difference is choosing actions on a daily basis that support your journey for optimal health. So it's always about choices. Every moment he has a ebook. If you haven't read it, maybe I'll stick it on the group page, in the Facebook page. I'll put the book in there. Stop, Don't Choose, and he talks about just that. When you face a choice, you stop, challenge yourself, and then make a choice. It doesn't say which choice to make. So, hey, just came into a room, it's a birthday party, they're like, hey, we got cake, got ice cream, and you're on program, and you're like, stop, challenge, choose. I'm going to think about this. Somebody's handing me a piece of cake. I'm going to think about it. So I'm going to stop, I'm going to think about it and challenge myself and decide my choice. I'm either going to celebrate with them with a cake, or I'm going to celebrate with them without a cake. Well, I brought my bottle of water with me, so my hands are full, so I don't accept the cake. Or you choose, I'm going to have a piece of cake. And that does not make you a failure. It's a choice, because the idea is moving towards optimal health. It's not a perfect, it's not straight, it's this journey. Maybe the next time, because then you're like, oh, I don't feel very good without that cake. And you remember that next time, your body's like, doesn't want that. And so those are the choices. They're the small decisions you make every day. So the next thing he says is, weight loss is the first step. Optimal health is a journey based on lifestyle to creating health by allowing our minds and bodies to work together. So it's about these steps, and it's a theme that he talks about in the book. It's a theme that anytime you hear him speak, he's talking about these things. This is not, it's going back to the same thing I already said. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And so as you are going through the challenges of the day, trying to figure out how to live the healthy habits, sometimes it's knowing them before living them so that you can live them. Just trying to live them without understanding them is not a path that is for everyone. But if you can take quiet time, be mindful, and understand what they are and what it means and how you can live that, then you start living these things, and then you are on this path to optimal health in an intentional way, and you're making the choices for what's good for you, because what's good for you in this case is going to be good for your family and your friends and your colleagues and your boss and everybody else, because you're going to be a better person, a more capable person, because you're making these choices for yourself, and you're being healthy, and you're having the energy, and your mind is sharper, and you're living optimally, and you're letting your body and mind work together to bring you to optimal health. So Does anybody have anything else? Because that's all I've got from that chapter. So any questions, anything you want to share? No? Okay, well, just real quick, I just want to close with, you can see this one, if you have to take a picture of it or whatever. I just think it's a really nice statement that he makes there. And then our next session is chapter 3, Motivation for Change. And it's March 1st, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. And you can join us live each first and third Wednesday. I thank you guys for joining us, and appreciate your being on the call. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks,
Good
Dave.
job, Dave. Thanks, Dave.